stunk. Horrible. And I was horrible because I hated it, and I hated it because I knew it wasn't me. And again, I was suppressing things that I wanted to do, and the person that I knew I was to be something that felt safer and more acceptable. But once these ideas get in our brains and our hearts, they get really hard to shake. Have you noticed that? These ideas get really hard to shake. And so getting out of school, I took my journalism degree and put it on the shelf, and I went and got sales jobs. And getting the jobs was easy because I could do a great interview, start out great, look like, this was a great hire. Until after a short amount of time, it just started to get to me because I knew this was not my thing, not my place in the world. There were men and women who were great at it, and it was their place, but I was not one of those people. And so the old habits would kick in, and I would begin to undermine myself and the process and everything else involved. By the way, for a person who's struggling with feeling like, who you are is not acceptable, but you don't feel like it's safe to express who you are and find your place in the world, you don't want to go into a profession where every day you're trying to actually gain approval to get a yes. This is a bad combination. But yet this is what I continued to do because it felt safe. In fact, I continued to do it for about 2.5 years. I went to about 6 jobs in that period. Let me tell you how that finally came to an end. I told you my dad's been a salesman his entire professional life, and he had pulled some strings and called in some markers with the company that he worked for, and I went to work for him. Of course, same patterns repeat. And so I had to end up having to make a phone call. Hey, Dad? Yeah. Yeah, we had a meeting today. Yeah, the phrase they used was separated from employment. Yeah, I'm really sorry. I know you pulled in some markers on this one, and I know you put yourself on the line. I apologize, but that's just how it worked out. Yeah, I'll talk to you later. Click. If you haven't made a phone call like that, do everything you can to avoid it. That's a horrible, feeling, humiliating phone call. Now, that was an opportunity also for a do-over because I knew what was going on inside me. I had never said it out loud. I'd never expressed it to anybody else. But there was an opportunity for a do-over there. But instead, I took a detour. Did I mention also at this about same month of my life that my first marriage was coming apart? Let me tell you about that. It gets even more fun. First year of college, I had met a young woman. Her name was Kim. She was a nice, kind, compassionate woman. We dated for about a year, and she began to talk about, we began to discuss what it might be like if we got married. And I knew in my gut it was not a good idea, not because there was anything wrong with her. She was a wonderful person. But the person that I was being was not the person who I really was. I was holding up and maintaining an acceptable persona when it felt like still the real me was being suffocated in most ways. And as crazy as this sounds, this was my thought process at the time. You know this doesn't feel right, and you know there's a better way to go. But every time you feel like you should step out and do something different, that makes you feel a little bit on the outside. Outside feels risky. Risk equals potential loss. Now, most people, the majority of people eventually do marry at some point in their life. Odds are you're going to get married too. And you're as honest with this person as you are with anyone, which is not much. And you are comfortable with this person as much as you're comfortable with anybody, which again was not much. So, you know what? Yeah, why don't we get married? Now, I would feel more comfortable up here with a stick jabbing myself in the eye than just telling you what I just told you, because it sounds insane to me coming out of my mouth as it does to you sitting there hearing it. But I'm telling you, that's how deeply ingrained these fears and these misbeliefs about who I was supposed to be, this is how deep they were infused in every single part of me. Well, it's not rocket surgery to figure out that, a marriage that's built on a pretty thin sham to begin with doesn't last very long. And we did a pretty good job of scraping by for 4 years and maintaining an outer facade and not having any real communication connection or anything else of value within a relationship for 4 years. But about the same time, that final job with Philip Morris at the time, the company my dad worked for, that thing came to a halt. Well, my marriage came to a halt also within about a month. Second phone call. Hey, yeah, some more news. Yeah, Kim moved out. Nah, it's probably for the best. Nah, yeah, it's hard, but yeah, well, yeah, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Click. Now, there was another opportunity for a do-over right there, quite honestly. Have you noticed that opportunities for do-overs generally come hand in hand with crisis? At least that's how it's played out in my life. And there was an opportunity there to ask for help. There was an opportunity there to begin to tell the truth. But instead of looking for a chance for a do-over, I took another detour. And that detour came in the form for me of a phone call from my buddy Keith down in Arlington, Texas. Sup? Not much right now. Why don't you come down here and hang out on my couch for a while? Okay. See, I thought I was taking a do-over, a geographic do-over, but really it was just a detour. Threw whatever I had in my car and took my one paycheck I had left and what minimal savings I had and moved down to Arlington, right? Thinking, okay, it's going to be a clean slate, fresh start. Not so much. Old habits die hard. Does it surprise you that I went down there and got a sales job? Will it surprise you that it didn't last very long? Same old habits, same old stuff, not talking about what's going on, keeping it all inside because you can't be who you are. That's not safe. It's not acceptable. Let me give you a snapshot of that point in my life. We're in this slight ratty two-bedroom apartment. In the two bedrooms, there's a wall in between them. I'm asleep. It's about 2:30 in the morning. And I hear this really distinct sound. I'll do my best to recreate it. Swap! 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 I had no idea what that sound was. I just knew that it was accompanied by a woman yelling out, the Bible described it this way, breathing out murderous threats. What it was Keith's girlfriend, who was sure cute enough, but may have had some issues. She was swinging a golf club at his head and missing and punching holes in the drywall, the wall in between our two rooms. And it's okay to laugh because, it's one of those things that if you don't laugh, it either breaks your heart or snaps your mind in half. And I laid there for a while, and you may think poorly of my response, but I hadn't heard anything connecting to bone or flesh. And once the yelling stopped, it got really quiet. And yeah, I probably should have called the cops. And yeah, I probably should have checked on some other things. But basically, I just kind of laid there staring at the ceiling. And this was my thought. I assume she felt like she had made par because she stopped swinging. I'm sorry, I know that's not funny, but you got to make a joke out of it. And I remember laying there thinking, okay, you've almost completely got your way in the world because you're sitting here, laying here right now. You literally have $5 to your name. You have no opportunities on the horizon. And there is a homicidal woman next door swinging a golf club at your buddy's head. how in the world did I get here? And I'm telling you, I was utterly